In other videos, we've talked about how numbers can change for case in examples like these. До 3 часов. С 5 часов. В 4 комнатах. В 2 городах. Here we have the genitive forms трёх and пяти after до and с with the meaning from, and the prepositional forms четырёх and двух, and the nouns that follow are in the plural of the same case as the number. But if we want to talk about calling a certain number of people, or walking up to them, or saying by a certain time on the clock, we'll need numbers in the dative, so let's look at that now. If you remember the genitive forms, the dative should look pretty familiar. But if you look carefully at the forms for 2, 3, and 4, what difference do you notice? These dative forms end in m, двум, трём, четырём. To remember this, just think of other dative plural endings. We say двум новым книгам, трём старым домам, четырём русским детям, all with that final m. So there's a pattern that might be helpful. But just as in the genitive and prepositional, numbers that end in a soft sign, like пять, шесть, and so on, have a dative ending in e, пяти, шести, семи, восьми. And there's one other important point. What do you notice about the nouns here? Часам is dative plural. This reminds us that the rule about genitive singular nouns applies only after those specific forms, два or две, три, четыре. But if the number itself is in a different case, like the dative двум, then we'll just put the noun that follows into the plural form of that same case. So, к двум часам, к трём часам, we have dative plural часам after the dative двум and трём. Now let's look at some examples in context. Они приедут к 2 часам. Часам к 5 уже похолодало. Мы им везем любовь к 3 апельсинам и хованщину. Перелистал записную книжку, позвонил 3 десяткам знакомых. В этом городе, сказал он по-прежнему негромко, я доверяю буквально 2-3 человекам, не более. Его приговорили к 6,5 годам колонии. And even though you may not need to use the higher numbers in other cases quite as often, it's good to recognize them. And here, if you know the genitive forms, you already know the dative forms. 40, 90, 100 all take a in the dative. And for 50, you'll hear 50. Notice how this is a compound made from 5 and 10, so we're really just putting together the dative forms 50 and 10. And we'll follow that pattern through 80, 60, 70, 80. Now, even native speakers sometimes avoid declining really large numbers, but it is good to be familiar with these forms since you'll hear them sometimes on the radio, in weather reports, and so on. Summing up, the numbers 2, 3, 4 have dative case forms двум, трём, четырём. Numbers that end in a soft sign have the dative case ending e, пяти, шести, семи, восьми, and so on. Take special care with the tens of 40 through 100, 40, 90, 100, 50, 60, and so on. In compound numbers, every element of the number declines. For example, помочь 22 пассажирам. We'll use these forms with prepositions like к and verbs that govern the dative, like помогать, помочь, звонить, позвонить. Nouns that follow will be in the dative plural, к 2 часам, помочь 5 студентам.